Hello everyone and welcome back. It's been more than a minute. I know it's been a couple of months. A lot of that has just been because I spent most of my time creating and working and preparing for probably the biggest trip of my life to date, which for many of you, you know that I visited Japan with a group of friends a couple of weeks back. I'm really just wanting my friends, my family, anybody that's interested in what we experienced and did in Japan to sit back, relax, have a little feel good, and then come back next week for the doll stuff. It has been the #1 place for me to travel. This trip is unlike any other international trip that I have planned for. There was a lot more research and education that went into it, learning how to navigate country, public transportation, different modes of payment, and also cultural customs. And initially when we started planning, it was a chat between a big group of friends of mine back from Omaha. It eventually just dwindled down to my bestie and her husband. Fast forward to Seattle, the first Anime Impulse that we attended, and we were speaking with John and Sandy, with my lady Disdain, and sharing with them that we were planning on going to Japan. I was just like, well, let's just all go together because it's a big trip and there's a lot of anxiety when it goes into navigating a foreign place. I would not have been able to do this trip, just Ben and I, and have gotten as much out of it as I did. My biggest concerns going into this trip was myself. I've been very candid that I struggle with anxiety, panic disorder specifically, and that I have a heart-related issue that gets triggered by a lot of things. And when I have an episode, it's very difficult for me to not do anything but sleep. Sleep is a natural reset for the heart. So I was terrified that I was going to be bringing on an episode while we were there and I was going to make everybody else's trip suffer. So I will say the first 48 hours were tough. I had to sleep a lot, try to hydrate, eat enough, but I got through it. And that's the important thing to take away, is that I'm so freaking proud of myself for pushing through and for sticking it out. And honestly, Ben is a huge part of why, because he kept reminding me to not feel bad if I needed to take a step away and sleep or rest or do whatever I needed to do. Everything was wonderful and I'm so glad I did it, and really the problems were few and far between from that point on. Alright, so I'm going to go through all the places we went to on the trip and some of the highlights and favorites from it. Let's start with Akihabara. We stayed at Super Hotel Premier Akihabara, which was my favorite hotel we stayed at by far. Now, Akihabara is a crazy area, and a lot of people, like taxi drivers and stuff that we interacted with, were like, why are you staying in a place that is so intense? And we were like, I don't know, YOLO. But also, we stayed in this very sweet, quaint hotel that was on a separate street, away from the insanity, close enough to all the convenience, and super close enough to walk to just about anything we wanted to do in that area. The night that I actually started doing things was John's birthday. Pretty special place to be to celebrate birthday. We asked John what he wanted to do, and there were two things that were really important to him that he wanted to do. And the first one was do karaoke, and then he wanted to do a steam train. And I actually got injections done specifically for this because I wanted to be able to participate and have fun. And what we didn't realize was that my voice was gonna drop like what felt like all of the octaves.
We've officially gotten to the best area.
The DJ plays my song and we will rock. So put my hand just a fountain ocean hiding somewhere in the night.
Hey, you okay? You okay?
Inside your window, they strap you. I pretend nobody. You can do the party. I'm the face. I'm the garbage. Put it down to the bedroom. You struck down. You were
The next day we did a steam train to Chichibu, and I've never been on a steam train. So yeah, it was fun, and it's not something I would have picked for myself, but that's why I loved traveling with a group, is because I got to have all these experiences that I wouldn't have had otherwise, and they ended up being some of my favorite parts of the entire trip. The sights were amazing. This is our time being able to get out of the city and to see some countryside, and trains are a big deal in Japan. All the bullet trains have their own theme songs and music. It's a pretty magical place to be when it comes to transportation. It's at its best. And then when we got there, we had lunch, we walked around, and they were having a festival that day. I don't know what festival it was, but there were a ton of people there. Their temple was full of folks in kimonos and yukatas, and yeah, it was really neat. Next day was a shopping day. It was probably my biggest shopping day in Akihabara. So we did that, and then we went to a cat cafe because we love animals and we missed our babies. The cat cafe, I know that people have differing opinions of this, so I can only say it from like my experience. I know both the cafes that we ended up going to that were animal themed, the animals are not available for adoption. They spend their lives at the cafe. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm not going to go into that right now. I could have probably taken a nap in there on the floor with the cats. It was awesome. We really enjoyed being able to be around them for a while, but also there were some really cute kiddos that were there, and you could tell that, like, I don't know, they were just so sweet and gentle with all the kitties, and I loved it. And then we went to our first themed cafe for food. So I put animal cafes and like themed food cafes into a different category. So another thing that I wouldn't have picked to do for myself was very high on the list of things to do for Dan and Katie, who are very big gamers. Monster Hunter is a really big one, is a really big game, means a lot to them. And for Dan, food was his thing about being in Japan, and I'm so glad that it was, because he was the best person to coordinate where we ate and like a list of things to try. He was also the most adventurous person when it came to food, which helped us step outside of our comfort zone and try more things. The next day was our smart doll visit, and it was a really rainy day that day. Our group understanding going into it was that John had coordinated a tour with Danny, and he had asked if it was okay if we had a group of people, because we had talked about splitting it up into smaller groups because we felt like it was going to be too much to throw at Danny at once. Danny was very agreeable. I'm not going to go into a ton of details about this because John has an entire video that he took of the tour, and so y'all go over and take a look at that. I'm sure it's going to be up within the next week or two. Ben and I did not have plans to buy a smart doll while we were there. Now, in a perfect world, would we have liked to? Yes, but we have been so good about not giving into FOMO the last 12 months because we were really preparing for this trip and saving all of our money to go to Japan. But the things that we're really looking forward to aren't coming out until probably 2025. So Cortex is really high on our list, and we knew that wasn't happening. And then coffee has been very, very high on my list. But at the time we went, I think there were only 3 characters that were released. My key takeaways from the tour, the skill that you need to have to do things that you would think are just the basic, it's incredible. While Danny was talking, I was doing like a multitask where I was like listening, but I was also paying close attention to what the team were doing. And one of the team members was putting together frames and bodies. Not only putting together frames and bodies, but doing the entire quality control check to make sure that everything was exactly as it needed to be. in less than 30 minutes, I think it was 20 minutes, put together 4 to 5 bodies and frames. Blew my mind. The individual sitting next to that person was positioning the eyes. And I don't mean just popping in the eyes, because I pop in eyes when I'm just trying to get photos. I mean really looking at the photo of the character, which I believe was Felicity, and zooming in, and you could tell that every single set of eyes was getting the treatment. It was something I didn't think of, but then seeing it, you're like, oh yeah, that's a thing. And also, oh my god, that is an incredible level of detail. We really enjoyed it. We also bumped into Linda while we were there, which was fun to see a familiar face from Seattle, because we met Linda in Seattle. You?
Walter Mitty.
No.
Yeah.
Secretly for Walter Mitty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody got a photo? Can I see a
It's
photo?
like life changing.
But he worked. I had the dog. I had the Stretch Armstrong dog.
Dog food?
You see, that's a Stretch Armstrong.
Dog food. But you're
No, you mentioned dog.
So this chamois,
Yeah, yeah.
this is something that's popular too. There's candy, but
Okay.
it's like a spicy sauce.
Nice.
Powder on top.
Yeah. Yeah, I only discovered the brand when I was in the US this year.
I didn't discover it until we moved to Texas because it's
Wow.
popular in Mexico.
Oh, this looks like chili stuff.
So you put that on melon fruit and it is going to be super tasty.
Oh, wow.
Any kind of melon,
Yeah,
it's just bomb.
More naughty stuff.
He works, so.
Stretches to normal size. Well, if you stretches, then returns to normal size, right?
In the bathtub, you may assume normal.
Oh, okay.
It's the opposite of a shrinky dink. You
Okay.
put it in the oven and it just returns to a full size man.
I don't know. I saw it and I thought of you. I know you have the He-Man stuff,
Yeah. No, this is nice, man.
but this is our.
Like folks in the US, they will know Stretch Armstrong.
I had the wiener dog.
Okay.
It was like Stretch Armstrong had a pet and it was a wiener dog.
Oh, wow, nice.
I don't.
Yeah, that was like a late
why.
70s, early 80s
Yeah,
toy,
yeah,
Stretch
yeah.
Armstrong.
Oh, well. You can do like naughty poses.
That's what.
Oh no, look at this one.
That's all we care about.
It's like a giant pretzel. I didn't know there's a name for it, but
It's our local toy
It's
store.
yoga goals.
yeah. I was actually thinking of getting a Nerf the other day because, like yesterday, like our trailer, there's like lots of I guess like spider activists are going to be coming after me, but there's lots of these like spiders' nests all over the trailer, and I think if I leave them, it will be like spiders all over the place. So if I got a Nerf, I could
Just leave them for the trespasser.
This place is probably good for the pocket doll.
Yeah, definitely.
That night, we went to the Final Fantasy Ezra Cafe. Final Fantasy Cafe and Monster Hunter Cafe were totally worth it. The food was great. Hashtag cafes. The next day, we had our first bullet train. Yay! I love Kyoto. It gave me the historical vibes. One of my favorite places that we went to was Kyoto Glass Studio, and we bought beautiful hairpins, which our spouses picked out for us, which was really special. And then we went to Inari Shrine at night. It was Halloween that evening when we went, and we didn't do the entire shrine, which I know it takes you to the top of a mountain. We had already been, we had walked like 17,000 steps that day, but we did go quite a ways in. It was beautiful because it was dark. I did bring the doll that I bought at Folks with me. Her name is Yume, and a beautiful kimono, and took some photos. And while we were taking photos, we had a family that stumbled upon us because it was pretty quiet. And they had this little dog named Tan Tan, and Tan Tan was so excited to meet us, and they were really lovely letting us meet their dog. Also, I had prepared to speak Japanese for people with pets, so I could say, "Your dog is cute." Because priorities. They took us and they walked us over to the omokaru, which is the light or heavy stone. You touch the stone and you make a wish, and then you lift it. And if it's heavier than you think, your wish may still come true, but it's going to take a lot more work and effort. And if it's lighter than you think, your wish is most likely going to come true. The next day in Kyoto, we went to Kinkakuji, which is the Golden Temple. Afterwards, we went to Shinkyogoku Shopping Street. There was a specific store that Sandy was really excited about, and that for people who hand sew especially, this is like the place to get your needles. And it is 360 plus years old. They served the imperial family, and the way that they produce needles is with as much emphasis, care, and specialty as producing samurai sword. It is hidden. Like, you had to walk through this weird alleyway to get there, and it was just this beautiful Zen garden. So thank you, Sandy, for putting that on the list, because it's not something that I would have done, and I'm really grateful. And it's really nice to have a piece of history. We went to the Parabox doll store, bought some things there, and then we had to hurry and hightail it out because our smart butts thought we could do Osaka in a half day. So we went and hit the bullet train and went to Osaka. Long day. We didn't go back to Osaka after that, and part of it was because just planning and thinking we could do a half day was not really realistic. So if we go back, we need to actually give Osaka a better go. And then we did the Nishiki market, which was insane because we went over at the lunch hour because we weren't thinking about it very well. And it was like, I don't even know how I got through that because I'm usually like, oh, too many people. But there's some footage of us wandering through it. Wag you, wag me. Then the next day was Nara Park, which it was a holiday weekend. It was Culture Day in Japan, and we went to Nara Park on a holiday, which was insane. I had one deer that like grabbed the front of my pants, just like yanked them open to just show everybody my underpants, which is sweet. And then it was getting ready for a ryokan, which was in another part of Kyoto by the Lake Biwa, which is a historical lake, one of the oldest lakes, and has so many different types of fish that are there. It's a beautiful lake, a beautiful area. Yeah, that was super awesome. And then we returned back to Tokyo for our last couple of days. Ben and I going on and exploring Ueno Park, which has a bunch of museums and zoos that are there. There are also more kiddos that were there. Like, Tokyo is a massive city. We dipped this much of our toe into it when we go back next year to do a lot of the outside of Tokyo experiences and then get some of our big Tokyo stuff in, because I think you just can't do it all. You just can't. And then lastly, we did Yanaka, which is part of historical Tokyo, and it's one of the few places that survived World War II. Had a lot of shrines, had a lot of temples. thank you for everybody for your patience, and I will have 1 to 2 more videos coming to talk a little bit more about the doll and the haul. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video and be a little bit part of our trip to Japan, and I will see you next week. Peace out, bean sprouts. Bye!